What's up, everyone? Today we are covering Street Fighter V, particularly the story mode, and just general sentiments. I don't know. We all have a lot to say about the game. It's been out for a little while, so we've had time to play it. That's been kind of an obstacle, especially for me. There's too many fucking fights. I see that now. My main in Street Fighter 4 was Rose, who was an alpha character. So
it's been quite some time for me. Man, what year did I was in a Street Fighter before Super came out, before Super 2. Just a little bit before. I think it was 95. So I got into Street Fighter probably Championship Edition in the arcades and MK2 at roughly the same time. Like it was just I guess mid to late 1994 was like fighting game time for me. Just pump endless quarters into the machines at the video store locally, and I've pretty much played most of everything since then. I had a long stint with the Alpha series. Street Fighter 3, less so, but that was more because I was, also really into home gaming. And Street Fighter, the 3 series never really got good ports or much ports in the way of anything until the Dreamcast came along. There was also the EX series, the Bastard Child, that people remember the characters very fondly from, if not the actual engine. Man, everyone still wants Skullomania back. Everyone.
yeah, exactly. I don't think you can even pluralize characters. I think it's just Skullomania.
Yep.
I have on occasion heard calls for Doctrine Dark.
Yeah.
Until I did this podcast, I didn't even know who that was.
People will occasionally take Doctrine Dark and sometimes Pullumperna or Darren Mister. That's really about it. Like, I think there's maybe 3 Alan Snyder fans documented out there in the wild. I don't know. But
I just like how generic some of the names are. Like that just sounds like a guy who does your taxes.
You think Alan Snyder's generic? How about Blair Dame? I can't say Blair Dame without one to fuck. Anyway, fuck, man. I mean, I even played the arcade Street Fighter, the movie, the game. That thing.
Wow.
Where they went all Mortal Kombat. I was one of the few people who actually really fucking enjoyed it, too. I mean, it was broken as shit, and the home version was actually worse, if you can believe it or not, because they decided, because of the negative reception I think the game got, they decided when it came time to port it to home systems, they just slapped the actual skins onto Street Fighter 2 Turbo. Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo, if I remember right. And it was fucking unplayable. It was terrible.
I was deeply fascinated from afar by that game when I was a kid. Like, I never touched it, but I'd look at it in magazines and just be all like, who the fuck is this Sawada guy? And wow, they really just straight up copied Sector and Cyrax.
A legendary Captain Sawada has the ability to bleed on you.
I'd like to point out to our listeners, because they can't see our Skype avatars, Shadaloo's is the fucking robot guy from Street Fighter, the movie, the game.
The Blade Street Fighter movie avatar for 20 fucking years nearly on the internet. It's been a constant press. It feels like 20 years. It's probably a bit less. But yeah. For some reason, I identify with that thing, and no one knows who the fuck it is. It's my Skype avatar at work. People I'm communicating with in my office don't know what I look like. They see a weird robot.
I deeply enjoy these conversations where I get to just stare at not Sector.
It was, for the reference, it was Blade, Arcane, Kyber, and F7 for the robots.
Those are good names.
And something that's actually pretty cool is recently Capcom's been, someone at the art department at Capcom has been putting out official Street Fighter V version artwork of every character in the fucking series. And that includes the movie characters. And they actually went out of their way to differentiate the robots. Like, Kyber, if I remember right, was like the yellow one, and he's got flamethrowers, and he's all giant and fat and shit. Arcane, who was the purple one, not purple, dark blue one, and he had like artificial stretchy limbs, like a robot stilt man with arms and legs.
So his name is Arcane, but he
Yes.
doesn't do magic.
Arcane with a K.
Very good. Very good.
Yeah, they made
They're
him
actually releasing a lot of the
stretch
cards on the
shit.
EX characters. Like,
Yep.
Blair just got updated, I think, yesterday. They showed
Yep.
her card.
Yep, and she's buff as hell. She's frighteningly buff.
Yeah, she looked better in the original artwork, frankly, like a lot better.
Yes. So I guess what I'm saying is I've had a long and storied history with Street Fighter. Versus series, fucking absolutely everything. When 4 came back, I couldn't stop doing laps around my house. I was so happy. I was counting down the days till 4 came out. And now it was a success, and I was very happy with it. And now here we are. Here we are.
So what do you think, Shadaloo? Do you like Street Fighter V? Do you not like Street Fighter V?
Oh, man. If it weren't a crime, if it were not a crime, I would sever dicks left and right and attach corkscrews to them, razor-bladed corkscrews, and I'd march right up to Capcom Japan's offices, and I would insert each of them rectally. You have no idea.
I had a feeling you would say something like
Well,
that, yes.
You have no
That's very
idea
graphic, but
how much this
do
game
you
has
like the game?
failed me. This game has failed me on every conceivable fucking level. This game is an exercise in how to fuck up everything. Where do I even start? If you're listening to this, odds are you've heard how fucked up Street Fighter V is. Do I have to list everything?
List maybe the top 3 that bothered you the most, maybe.
All right. Here's number 1. No fucking arcade mode. There, I said it. I don't give a shit if you assholes out there think it's a fucking relic of the past. No, you know what? There is something to be said for going through, fighting progressively more difficult CPU opponents, and this is where arcade offers what survival mode generally does not, a series of boss characters. Which even Mortal Kombat manages to do, which King of Fighters is currently doing, which Killer Instinct has. But no, because we have to cater to the fighting game community, because fighting games are now a lovely, wide, far-reaching, corporate-sponsored event with deals and people splitting pots and all those lovely things that seem to make the FGC worth the while. All those lovely players out there who slap around their significant others, and no, we're going to cater to them. We're going to cater to all 5,000 of them, despite the fact that we're expecting to sell, what is it? I don't know, a couple million units of each title.
That didn't happen.
No, it didn't, and I'm glad. I fucking hate this game so much. I really do.
I mean, to be fair, it wasn't all to cater to the FGC. The bigger problem is that this game was a budget title.
A lot of it was.
The release date was, yes. I mean, that's undeniable. But
the whole focus of fighting games now, just at least as far as Street Fighter goes, seems to be the competitive players. Go fuck yourself. I'm sorry, go fuck yourself with that shit. You know, no, not at all. How many people back in the fucking 90s, when Street Fighter became a goddamn phenomenon, gave a shit about priority and combos and all these lovely technical terms? Wake up, okay game. I don't give a fucking shit about any of that, and I never have. And a lot of people out there don't too. They just want to pick 2 people and fucking go at it. Or maybe they want to fucking beat up the computer on their own. You know? I absolutely despise everything that fighting games have turned into.
I would just like to interject real quick. I don't think it was purely for the fighting game community. If it was, they would have left 1 frames in. They would have left option selects in. They would have increased the execution level. Instead, they actually added 8 frames of lag to make the online work better. And I assume, I can't think of any other reason except to I guess maybe create an execution barrier for better players. I think in many ways it's the opposite. They tried to water the game down. Now, I actually do like this game better than 4, but I don't want to put it entirely on the FGC. I think the reason why, I mean, let's take Street Fighter. Let's use Mortal Kombat instead. The FGC unquestionably made that game better, in my opinion. I think if it wasn't for the FGC, we would still be playing games like Deception or Armageddon.
It wasn't the fucking FGC that made the Mortal Kombat series better. It was the goddamn Mortal Kombat fans who, for fucking 10 years on MK Online, MK5.org, and the 3 fucking other message boards out there who were begging for this game to be at least as playable as other, better crafted fighting games that made Mortal Kombat better.
If it
They
wasn't for
finally
Street
listened
Fighter
to us
4,
and we start.
I
If it
don't
wasn't
know
for
that
Street
I...
Fighter 4, if it wasn't for Street Fighter 4, yes, we wouldn't be playing fighting games right now. But I don't hate Street Fighter 4. I have issues with it, but I don't hate it. I don't hate Street Fighter 4. I hate Street Fighter 5. I hate Street Fighter 5 because it's emblematic to me of everything that I consider wrong, not with just, I don't know, the FGC or just fucking gaming in general. You know, my disenfranchisement with modern gaming, for the most part, started with Castlevania Lords of Shadow 2. When I just, how do you fuck up something that you've done before on every conceivable level that worked so well? Who takes a series into their hands and just milks it for all they're worth? Oh, Christ,
See, that's how I feel about Judgment. That was my opinion on Castlevania Judgment. That's
Judgment.
Speaking of bad fighting games.
Judgment was, oh god, don't get me started there. Holy shit. But I mean, where do I start with 5? Where do I continue from 5? How about the fact that I have to, oh Christ, survival mode. Fuck survival mode. How do you have a mode which you get to a certain point and suddenly it's like this AI has been taking lessons from like Ultimate MK3 AI at the worst. Oh, no, not even better. Ultimate MK3 Jade AI at the worst possible level. When did Street Fighter have fucking input reading AI like this? When? It is garbage. It's unplayable.
It is crazy, I agree.
It is
the survival mode's horrible.
It goes from boring, mundane, idiotic to impossible.
It's a money-making scam. I'll willingly admit
it
that.
absolutely is. The whole fucking game is a money-making scam.
But that's not the FGC's fault. I don't think that's Capcom catering to the FGC.
No. Like, the money-making and the FGC, they're two separate things. I'll assent to that. I just don't like how I feel this game has been made to cater directly to them. I'm just, fighting game colors. Colors for characters. 20 fucking years of my life I have spent with the luxury, I suppose you could now call it in retrospect, of being able to pick any random color at any time for a character. Hell, sometimes they'd even just shove a couple of secret ones in there by pressing start and hitting a button. It was nice. So if I want to pick anyone else now, I gotta go through this shitty survival mode. Oh, wait, no, they fixed that. Now you have the privilege of paying for it. Go fuck yourself, Capcom. Just go fuck yourself.
I mean, I don't disagree with a lot of that. I think the fight money system is awful. I think you can earn money in so many ways except by actually playing the game online, and that is ridiculously backwards to me. And you can't get all the content with the money unlocked in the game. At least not prior to the challenges. I don't know what the challenges are going to bring.
You were never going to be able to. And even I feel like even if you crank out like enough matches at a reasonable pace, it's still a fucking grind to actually purchase shit.
And let's say it was easier. Let's say that you do grind it out and you get enough money to purchase every color, stage, character. You still don't have enough content to match another AAA fighting game like KOF.
Not a single one of
Mortal Kombat. So yeah, I agree that's a problem. I absolutely agree.
Yeah, I would say my biggest complaint with the game would be the fight money system. And, the fact that, if you did want to spend money, it's $30 for a pack of costumes and colors. It's everything is overpriced on both the in-game money level and the real money level.
And that $30 does not get you everything either. That still omits a lot of costumes and stages.
Remember Zenny?
I paid those $30 too.
What the fuck was the point of Zenny again, anyway? None. They just took it out. It had no point. Just trying to.
There's been mistakes.
Mistakes. There's been mistakes. That's a fucking understatement right there, my friend.
Well, here's
Capcom.sys digging around in your goddamn root folders. A fucking mistake. What kind of anti-consumer garbage is this? How do you do this? I'm sure, this is what stings. I'm sure that in 5 or so years, this is going to be a wonderful game with a nice full cast, probably dedicated arcade mode, and I have no doubt that looking further down the line, judging from what I've seen in story mode, which I'll get to eventually, we're going to be looking at a game which is basically going to be replacing Street Fighter 3 in the continuity of things. It's going to happen.
I would actually really like to see them add the entire Third Strike roster eventually and cover that whole chunk of the story.
I think it actually is going to be happening. They're probably going to pull an MK9 on it, hopefully not as bad as MK9 was.
Well,
but we're getting to that part.
I wouldn't mind it so much with Street Fighter as I did with Mortal Kombat, because Mortal Kombat's original story was so complicated and tight that you can't change anything without ripping holes in the fabric that holds it all together. Whereas with Street Fighter 3, all we really need to know is, I guess, Alex beats Gil.
More or less, that's pretty much...
Yeah, that's kind of the whole thing. I mean, there's some choices in there that I would not mind seeing changed. I'm not really down with Chun-Li, quitting as a cop to opening an orphanage. I don't mind her with taking care of the hacker girl, but...
See, I was okay with that, and we're going to get to that shit eventually. There's a very good reason that she quits and goes and whips an orphanage. A very good reason indeed. And as much as it's impossible to tweak things in MK without fucking something else up, you'd think that with Street Fighter's story being on the relatively simplistic side of things, what could they possibly fuck up? Well, but let's get there first.
Yeah, I want to say before we do jump into story mode that I think the reason this game is the way it is, it's not really because of the FGC, although I can see where you're coming from with a lot of that. The reality is, when Capcom started developing this game, they didn't really have, or if they didn't want to use, the money it would take to build a game and put it on the shelf. So they looked at the Killer Instinct model and said, oh, we can make a game piece by piece and release it piece by piece. It's just that they did it in a poor order.
No, you're definitely right about it taking inspiration from that. And
I mean,
I've gone on record before as saying I don't think Killer Instinct did it right either. I think they had a good formula, but they should have waited a bit before starting to crank out characters.
I have no complaints about the way Killer Instinct did it, and I think a lot of that is because I think there's an element of Killer Instinct where it's because you could watch it being built almost in real time, you sort of got to see how the sausage is made when it comes to a fighting game, and it actually was really interesting to here's Jago, he's the balanced guy. Here's Saberwolf, he's the rushdown character. He's Thunder, he's the grappler, and just see them go through the archetypes. And then once they got to the end of that, then they could make whatever they wanted. And you got a fuller roster, and they started adding more story modes, but at least they started with an arcade mode in the game. And it's just and the other big thing is you can get everything that's in KI for under $60. Even now with the game complete. You have to pay at least $90 to get not even all of the content that's in Street Fighter V, and that's the fucked up part.
Someone did the math. It costs $230-something to get everything that's out there right now.
That's if you pay for everything without using fight money? Ever?
I believe that does not count the 6 DLC characters.
That's a problem. It's a serious fucking problem. But, I mean, see, I don't have the hard feelings. I mean, some hard feelings I have because I did pay $90 for a fucking video game that's not finished.
I was stupid. I did exactly what I avoided doing with Killer Instinct, and I believed in this franchise that much. I believed in Capcom, and I'm sitting here looking at a Street Fighter V Ryu statue shoved sideways up onto my bookshelf. Oh God, I want to hit it. I want to hit it.
See, that's you got punished for being an early adopter, and that really does suck because those are the guys you want to punish the least because those are your most hardcore fans. But just for me as the guy who waited until right before Urien came out to finally buy the game, I don't have all that bad will built up. So I am enjoying the game. Yes, it's missing things. I would love a fucking arcade mode. It needs a lot more characters, but for what it is now, I've had fun playing it, so I can't shit on it too hard.
If there's an article on Shoryuken right now questioning what kind of reception the game would have had if it had been released the way it is today, as of this moment, upon release. They speculate that it still would have been received pretty poorly because of, survival mode being shit and there not being in a proper arcade mode. I partly agree with that. I think a bigger roster would have helped this, but it did start with the same amount of people that I think the Street Fighter 4 started with, barring 3 secret characters. I don't know. I'm hurt by this game because the actual fighting, the gameplay, is very solid. You're not going to hear me complain about the gameplay. Not at all. Just everything around it.
All right, I guess I'll jump in here. I'll use half my time saying whether I liked it or not. I'll use the other half to defend the FGC.
Oh, by all means, go ahead. I'm going to have a cigarette. You go ahead and do it.
Somebody has to, and you're the only one really qualified, so...
Okay, well, I do like the game quite a bit.
I'll preface whatever I'm about to say by saying I know #not all FGCers.
Yeah,
I know.
Well, maybe we should start there. A lot of the FGC is not happy with this game. I mean, the FGC is the loudest voice, and that voice is saying, where's arcade mode? Why is the money system jacked up? Why do I have to play 50 unbeatable matches in survival mode to unlock a color? Why do I have to pay $10 real for an Evo stage? I mean, the FGC has been a brigade against the problems of this game.
I want to say... I mean, I guess, but can't help but feel that they kind of made this bad. Not gonna lie. No.
Well, let's talk about that, though. Look at fighting game balance 10 years ago, 15 years ago. If it wasn't for the FGC, where there was actually a market for making a balanced fighting game beyond the surface, where actually, pros who study frame data could do high execution level play, we would never be getting a patch to fix Alien coming next week. That would not be a thing. That is the FGC's contribution. The idea of updating a game.
We are assuming the patch will fix Alien, though.
fair, but the goodwill wouldn't even exist, in my opinion.
That's true.
Go on, Shadaloo.
I understand that, and I respect that. And on another level, I don't give a shit. Was Street Fighter 2 Turbo really all that balanced? I don't think that they actually balanced the fuck out of that game until maybe Super Turbo, and even then Akuma was fucking broken.
Akuma was broken, Old Sagat was broken, Dalsim was broken, Vega was broken.
Do you need a perfectly balanced game to have a good fighting game?
I don't think you really do. Argument, I think, for the Incredibles philosophy of once everyone's broken, then no one will be.
That's Guilty Gear. Guilty Gear made that game, Razor.
I think that you just brought up Marvel vs. Capcom 2 in a nutshell.
Yeah.
Or the three people that now matter.
No, that's a good game. Marvel vs. Capcom 2 is a fantastic game. Here's the thing, though. To balance that game out, you have to reduce the roster to about 10 characters, and that's within teams. There's probably about 6 or 7 actually viable teams in that game at the highest level. And at the lowest level, it's Ice Beam and Cable. That's what that game is at the lowest level. And if you're not playing that game, you're going to be eating Doom Rocks for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, because I did. I remember, I'll never forget the day I quit Marvel vs. Capcom 2. It was Doom, Juggernaut, and Thanos. And the lockdown, I couldn't do anything. I couldn't do anything with my Strider Morgan Venom team. No. It was Psylocke Venom Morgan. And my gameplay, because I wasn't a fighting game tournament player back then, so I was trying to dash in, do low, jab, strong, fierce, and do an aerial rave. That was my entire strategy. I ate Doom Rocks for about 60 seconds and died. That was my day. So yes, I do think that's a good game, but that's a good game qualifying that you have the knowledge to play at the highest level and you have the dexterity to play at the highest level. What Street Fighter 4 did is it created a new FGC, and it just kind of raised the bar. And I mean, granted, yes, you don't need all that to enjoy the game. You don't need balance, but like that's where the longevity comes from, and there's a reason people still play Third Strike and no one plays Deception. That longevity means so much to me, and I mean we get over 100,000 views at Evo, and those are not all tournament players, you know. That's a big deal. That's a good thing. I don't want fighting games to be on the lower shelf at GameStop. I don't want any more deceptions. That's the FGC's contribution.
I will say, I mean,
yeah,
I think we'd still be playing MK9 if we got this late in the game patch the way we're getting for MKX. You know, something to fucking normalize Cabal and Kenshi.
And Cyrax.
Cyrax.
Yeah. Smoke was okay.
Eh.
Yeah, I know he wasn't okay.
Sorry, I just don't care. If you love a game long enough, if you love a game enough, I don't think any amount of balancing should really matter. As long if you play it for as long as you love it, maybe a lot of people need balance and they need tweaking and they're fascinated by that stuff. And I have just never been. Well, I'm still playing to this day. I'm still playing MK2. I'm still playing UMK3. I know they're all broken pieces of shit games, but what matters is that they're playable. Deception wasn't playable. Not for any amount of time as a fun game, I don't find.
You know, ironically, I did play the shit competitively out of Deception. I wasn't good at it, but I did play competitively.
Deception, Deadly Alliance, all the PS2, Xbox games, they were just slow and plodding.
I can't play Deadly Alliance or Deception or Armageddon with other people the way I can MK9 or MKX. But in one player, I enjoy those a lot more than Mortal Kombat 2, where it's just spam high punch over and over, or sweep, 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 or, you know, at a certain difficulty level, it doesn't matter what you do, the computer's just going to throw you.
That's probably got a bit more to do with the fact that they tweaked the difficulty level of the AI a little bit.
And I think ultimately the FGC and, you know, the general fan base want the same things. I don't think there's a conflict of interest at all. I think we all want arcade mode. We all want to pay less than $90. I think that's something everyone wants, you know?
No, it's not, Temp. I'd love to say that it is, but I've seen a lot of people online going, it's outdated and archaic. It's a fighting game. It's meant to be played between two people. And I think that those are the people that this game is aimed towards. Good. Here's your fucking bed. Sit in it.
I don't know. I think those are the people. I wouldn't say those are the people the game is aimed towards. I would say those are the people Capcom chose to exploit while they're building the rest of the game.
I'm gonna put out that I swear to God, I swear to you now, if these people, these wretched piles of scum, had their way, I swear to you, this game would be nothing but fucking Zhao Zhao. 2 stick figures with all the priorities and tech in the world. Utterly devoid of personality or passion.
Well, I think a lot of those people are Capcom fanboys. They're not even truly fighting game players. They just love Capcom and don't want to see anything bad about them. Or they're enjoying the game, and the negativity wave is just bringing them down. And I can somewhat relate to that, but let's be clear, I do have problems with this game. This game has a motherload of problems.
You know what? I can't call it negativity. I can't call it negativity. Negativity is a word you use when there's just unjustified amounts of bitching, complaining. And I am challenging anybody to tell me that the complaints about this game are anything but justified. Oh, this game done fucked up so bad.
Well, I guess let me go to the positive. Here's why I like the game. Right now, what games are we all playing? Mortal Kombat, Killer Instinct. I've tried to get into Guilty Gear and KOF. I kind of fell on my face, but Mortal Kombat and Killer Instinct have been my main games. But the problem is those games don't really have a strong neutral. You know, KI, you have pretty much combo starting options at any place in the screen for most characters, at least at the mid-range. Mortal Kombat, there's more so a footsie game, although it's much of the same situation. You have a lot of moves that do heavy damage from great distances, for the most part, the mid-range. I know not everyone can get a full-screen combo, but just a lot of high-distance, dangerous stuff, so it's hard to have a really thick neutral game. Well, what makes Mortal Kombat more footsie-based than Killer Instinct is that all that shit is unsafe. You can't get away with, a telekick on block for the most part. I mean, there's some shenanigans you can do to make it safer, but for the most part, you'll get blown up if you throw out a random scorpion telepunch. You're just not going to get away with that. If they do get away with that, they get at least 30% of your life and a reset, possibly. Street Fighter has this really brilliant neutral game that is so fun to me. Now, what people might say is, well, Temp, why don't you just go play Street Fighter 4? By the end of Street Fighter 4's run, that game was so littered with option selects that it became almost impossible to learn matchups if you were not playing the game for at least 3+ years. I mean, the matches, because you can't see an option select. You can't see what the other person is inputting. So just learning the game. I mean, I stepped away from Street Fighter 4 for 2 years, and when I came back, it was a different game. Thank God the unblockables have been taken out, but it just... Also, the roster got so bloated that you didn't always get to play the neutral game you wanted to play. If you wanted to play, say, Ryu, just do footsies, well, if you're playing against DiCaprio, you're just going to put that shit away for the next 90 seconds because you're fucked if you try to play the game like that, So this is the solution. This game, I think, is a lot of fun, and they basically turned every character into a variation of Ryu. I feel like every character is like a redesigned Ryu, because I feel like that footsie game is very much there. And they even said that. We use Ryu as our starting point for every character. So you're not having to deal with fucking Viper shenanigans all the time. You can play Street Fighter. It's got problems. Like, I'm not defending the problems. But I really do love this game.
It's very playable. I'll assent to as much. It's a very fun game to play when you're actually fighting.
And, I mean, there's some problems we haven't even talked about. Like, the game is ugly as shit. Can we talk about that?
Yeah, the art...
1 second.
Sure, definitely.
Before we do that, I just want to bring a counterpoint to your mentioning before about how balancing a game keeps it alive for a long time.
For sure, yeah.
12 is a character in Street Fighter 3 Third Strike. Okay, now where were we?
Okay.
Touche, salesman. But yeah, art style. Everybody looks like they're made of fucking clay. It's gross and weird.
It's a bad thing.
I actually don't know whether or not I find this game uglier than SF4 or what.
It doesn't really bother me, except for everybody's hair and Fong and Vega's fingernails. Those are the problems.
For me, it's everyone's sausage fingers and Ken's face. Can we talk about Ken's face? Because the whole internet likes Ken's face.
The internet has an obsession with Ken's face.
His hair is bananas. BANANAS.
Which is hilarious, because 4 years ago, one of the best Kens was Banana Ken, so it all comes full circle. It's a cycle of life, guys. I love it.
Oh my god.
His hair bugs me, but his face doesn't. Like, I don't mind the way his, nose and eyebrows and cheeks and shit or whatever are modeled. But
it's
the hair,
definitely
man,
off. Like, his jaw should be a little bit more squared. He's got to lose that vacant, staring, derpy expression he has on the Versus screen.
I don't know. I'm okay with him looking vacant. He's kind of that guy. He's like the surfer dude character. That's his thing.
Yeah, but he knows how to be serious when the moment calls for it. And you just look at the guy, look at his sprite in Street Fighter 3, Third Strike. That's all I'll say. You look at that, and that screams, this is where Ken is. This is what Ken's like. And you look at Ken on Street Fighter 5 Versus screen, and she's like, pork chop sandwiches. And it's not right.
He wants a body massage.
Oh.
The clipping's also very problematic. The worst I've probably seen in a game in maybe 10 years. Like, since the Dreamcast era, I don't think I've seen clipping this bad.
Yeah, they just straight up didn't bother with the clipping thing. I don't know. I mean, there's a certain level where it's like, well, I guess this is Street Fighter now, because it is very similar to 4. But 4 had hair that looked like hair.
I don't know how they fucked that up. Well, I'm going to be fair and just say I think that they actually did upgrade their model makers or their graphic artists, because Urian looks fucking amazing. I'll say that.
That's true. Like, every DLC character is better looking than the last.
They're basically going through what Killer Instinct kind of went through for a little while there.
Killer Instinct had some growing pains for sure, and the faces still look bad in Killer Instinct, in my opinion. Not all of them. I think people are way too hard on Kimwoo. I think Kimwoo looks fine, but Orchid's face doesn't look like the same graphics engine to me. Like that's bad.
I don't know. I'm okay
like
with Orchid.
fucking,
I mean,
like, cel-shaded. Yeah.
I can sort of see what you're saying about it not necessarily looking like the same engine, but I think I'm not sure how you'd... Because the thing is, the rules are different for a female character than they are for a male, as far as, like, what people want to see. Like, you have to be pretty. You can't be fucking Raven from Injustice, or nobody will play that character. It'll become the thing everybody talks about when they talk about your game. Injustice's most famous thing is how ugly Raven is.
I think
Wonder Woman looks worse in my opinion, but yeah.
I need to see this. Injustice.
I could have forgiven Raven's design if it wasn't for the voice. The voice is what really pissed me off.
Yeah, that's a problem too. I don't know what, because they got the person who did her in the cartoon.
Tara Strong,
and then they went and threw a fucking filter on it. Like, how do you?
Anyone could have done that voice performance. Anyone. There was no point getting Tara Strong to do it.
Like, there's a point. There's a point where you go.
At Tim Curry.
There you go.
What happened here?
There's a point where you go, how did they, like, did they not know what the people want and just got it wrong? But with every NetherRealm game, it seems more and more like they knew what the people wanted and did the opposite on purpose. And I'm like, what the fuck? Like, who are the things you're making for? You don't, like, put Fujin in Mortal Kombat, you make a Raven who looks like a dude, and it's like, well, who do you think your audience is? Who's supposed to enjoy this?
Why is she a sweet transvestite from transsexual Transylvania?
I can't get over Curry this. Fan too. I love Tim Curry.
It's like, please, Ed, learn your audience and do what they want. That's how
there's only three body
money.
Types in Injustice, honestly, outside of maybe like Ares. Like it's just male, female, Grundy. Those are the three body types, and it's even more evident when you look at Sinestro, who they clearly used a female body set for, and then fucking Sinestro'd over it. That's almost very evident. That's what happened.
I don't think I'm going to be able to contribute much more to this conversation because I'm not looking at Raven's face.
You can close the window.
You
may have to close the window eventually.
I'm mesmerized. How? What happened?
I know, right? But how we got to this point? So at least the women look like women in Killer Instinct and Street Fighter V.
Yeah, I mean, Orchid is an attractive design. I mean, it's just her face looks painted on. It's like they watercolored her face, and the lighting just all goes to hell around her eyes. Like, it's not a huge problem. I mean, Orchid's my secondary in that game. I do think the design works well enough, but I don't know. That pretty much covers my general thoughts of Street Fighter V. I really like the game, and I've been playing it a lot. Probably after we're done recording, I'm going to play it some more. I think the game's really good. Ibuki's my main. After finally, like, I used Chun-Li pre-Ibuki, and I was worried. I didn't think the character
I'm
was
very thankful you're not using Chun-Li anymore.
Yeah, she's pretty stupid.
You need to normalize that shit.
It was that bad?
Yeah, Chun-Li's pretty... I don't want to say broke, but she's dumb. She's unfairly powerful. She's
dumb. She's not broken. She's just really, really dumb. Yeah.
It's high-tier Chun-Lis have been a thing traditionally.
The thing that bothers me is so Smokeman uses Rainbow Mika, and she's got grabs that are both unblockable and like you can't tech out of. And it's like, oh, but you can jump it. And, man, I can't jump on Wake Up.
Well, normally you can against a grab, but Mika has a normal grab, which is her forward medium punch, which you can't jump out of that.
Yeah,
that is blockable, so it's considered a normal hitbox.
You can actually block that. The fucking that's the one that bothers me.
You don't know what he's going to do. Is he going to do a command throw? Is he going to do a fucking forward medium punch? You don't know.
So here's the thing about the forward medium punch that bothers me the most, even though you can block it. It's an Irish whip, which for wrestling fans, that's the thing where you grab a guy by the arm and you tug him, and he chooses to bounce off the ropes and come back at you. It's the most unrealistic part of professional wrestling. So, putting that in a fighting game, and your character's running for so long, and at no point can you press a button to stop running, the logic breaks in my head. It's the same thing as why I can't do a cancel, because something in my brain says, wait, you want me to start doing a fireball and stop in the middle, and that will make my combo faster? How is that? That's not how the real world works.
No, fair enough. That character out prioritizes a lot of stuff in the game. But it's still a lot of fun to play because when I play Smokeman's Mika, it makes you rethink how to approach Street Fighter.
It is.
You gotta change gears based on your player.
And I guess I should say, so my mains are Cammy and Jury. I don't know. Shadaloo plays Vega mostly, I guess, when he does play.
Well, Birdie too, right?
I haven't.
I feel like there was a second character when you played with us.
I was really going to start... Well, it was Guile.
That's right.
I was really going to start playing Birdie, but just looking at him makes me sad and depressed.
Yeah, I don't like Birdie's design either.
No one likes Birdie's design.
Which is a shame, because I like how they integrate him into story. I thought that was actually smart, but go on.
The truly sad thing about Birdie's design is I can see it. Like, seeing the character in, like, Alpha 2 and knowing his backstory and whatnot, I can look at this and I can say to myself, yes, this is probably what Birdie would wind up like at 40. And it makes me very sad that they chose to go that rate. I've been saying for years that they should actually age the characters a little bit. Well, that one's on me, folks. This is what I get.
I think we were all saying that. I think we've said that in episodes before, that we all kind of wish, like, Sexy Ryu was the primary and stuff like that.
Oh, for sure.
Because it shows, like, the age progression. But, like, the thing for me about Birdie's design that I don't get is, so, like, he's just Rufus. So it's like, why would you go, well, we want Rufus in the game, but we don't actually want to do Rufus, so let's turn somebody else into Rufus.
It's not, like, it's... The character bothers me a little bit. Not so much the being all fat and out of shape. The being fat and out of shape, I can see it and I can understand it. But Birdie was actually a pretty smart guy back in the day for a thug who had aspirations to take over Shadaloo.
He did figure out a way to put a hole in the middle of a mohawk. That takes some skill.
I miss the mohawk hole. Where the hell, man? Come on, Capcom. If you can make a man's hair out of bananas, you can't tell me you can't put a hole in a fucking mohawk.
It makes you sad for what could have been. It really does. Because I think he should come back. I like Birdie now,
There are already some actually pretty impressive thin Birdie mods out there for the PC version of the game. They made them look good.
That is intriguing to me, because, I mean, you have to deal with the hitbox.
I don't know how the hitboxes work, but I've just seen screenshots, and I'm kind of impressed.
Dude, they don't even work in the regular fucking game, dude. Fucking Ibuki standing short fucking will go right through, like, other characters' legs. Like, I saw it go right through Urigen's leg.
Yeah, I have noticed there are some deceptive hitboxes in the game. Like, it's a thing.
It's real. It's very real. I guess story mode, then?
Yeah, let's talk about story mode.
Who wants to start?
I can, because, I mean,
Please,
I think I'm probably...
by all means.
I'm probably going to be the most complimentary, because, So the first thing you have to say about this story mode is obviously it's very much the same kind of story mode as the Mortal Kombat games do. It's 3 hours of cutscenes, one in between each fight. The things it does different, which I really enjoy, are the fact that sometimes you get to play as the fucking bad guy, and you're not the same person from fight to fight. Like, it keeps switching it up. There's no chapter fucking system, and we've been saying forever that chapters are holding that shit back. So the two negatives that bother me the most, in comparison to Mortal Kombat, are sometimes the character you're playing is on the right side of the screen instead of the left, and I don't get why you do that, because it's just confusing. Like, a fight starts and you're like, which guy am I? And then whoever moves first when you press a button, oh, I guess I'm them, I can't tell. I mean, it does say you in the health bar, but it's kind of hard to see.
Yeah, it's disorienting sometimes, for sure.
The other thing is, Mortal Kombat I think the most impressive thing about their story modes is that they load in the background seamlessly. So you're never in a loading screen. It goes straight from the fight to a cutscene, and there's this like transition where when a fight starts, the camera starts close up on the character saying something, and then it zooms out, so it's like part of the cutscene, even though it's actually in-engine at that point. They do such a seamless editing job of keeping the thing going without any loading time. Obviously, Street Fighter does not do that. It just has regular-ass loading screens like a normal video game, and that's disappointing.
I mean, I can't remember. It's been a really long time now, but yeah, it sounds right compared to what I remember. You're definitely right that they play very similarly. Man, it's tough, dude, because in Mortal Kombat, like, when you play the story mode, you just bought the game, right? So you're having to go through menus nonstop just trying to fucking figure out how to do fucking Takeda's whip and shit like that. And this game, I literally roundhoused my way through the entire fucking thing up until Bison, where I actually had to, like, press buttons.
Yeah, so, yeah, that is another complaint, I guess I should say. Like, when you get to Bison, the difficulty jumps pretty sharp.
And I liked Bison as a final boss. I don't know. It's hard. Like Guilty Gear, you're not even allowed to play it in story mode. If you try to press buttons, story mode's like, hey, we're in the middle of something here. So yeah, there's no fights, nothing. You just watch the story.
Well, it's an anime game, so it has to feel like anime.
It's kind of progressive if you think about it. What they should do is incentivize playing story mode. Be like, hey, you can watch it, but if you want some of that sweet faction points that doesn't do anything, you gotta play.
That would be
maybe
nice.
Give bonuses. That would be, I think, make everyone happy, right? Because I want fight money. Do you want fight money?
I would love some fucking fight money.
Well, then I think we just fixed Capcom and NetherRealm's problem.
Starving for fight money. Help me out here.
I will do horrible things on Craigslist for fight money. I don't know. I don't know if Shadaloo's back in the call yet, but I do want to start getting to some of the story points. The story as a whole, it starts off a mess. When I played the first, 45 minutes, it's like, wow, this is unbelievably bad. Like, this is awful. Like, this is, Saturday morning, cartoon pilot bad. Like, this is terrible.
Yeah, you have to...
And it really kind of comes together. What's up?
You do have to lower your expectations as far as, the quality of the narrative, because it is a story mode, and we are comparing it to Mortal Kombat, but it's a Street Fighter story. So...
Which has never been good at structure to begin with.
Yeah, it's... Expect a Street Fighter story, is what I'm saying.
But you know what? It got a lot better. There's still problems. Laura comes out of nowhere at the end of the game, and little things
a lot of things come out of nowhere at the end of the game.
But I really feel like it came together really nicely. There were some strange choices. I don't know why they turned Karen into an exposition bot. That seemed really weird to me.
Yeah, she's the leader of the heroes all of a sudden. The last time I saw her, she was just Sakura's high school rival. So
yeah, and she was kind of a bitch. So
and now she's Iron Man. She's calling together the Avengers and footing the bill.
Yeah, she's Iron Man and Nick Fury kind of rolled together. And fucking Guile's taking orders from Karen, and I'm like, what? It's so
Karen's
weird.
Not affiliated with anything, but Interpol and Army, they're all taking orders from her.
Yeah, fucking Shadaloo spies and shit. Dude, all she has is money.
Yeah,
she's aligned with money.
Money is the best superpower.
It is, no, by far and large. And it's kind of a shame, because I always thought Karen was kind of an interesting character. The problem is they didn't really give her a foil. Karen does not have a Sakura to work off of, because they put Ibuki and Karen in the same room, but it's like everyone's invisible except the person who's important to the plot. That's the problem with Karen. So you don't get any personality from this character.
I think what it is that Ibuki and Mika are Karen's employees, so they can't argue with her. They're frightened of her. So Like, the game really could have used Sakura as a launch character to be in the story mode.
Which is hard for me to agree with because I did not want Sakura back, but I can't argue with that. Who else is going to have a dynamic with Karen, you know?
I'm back.
normally-
I'm in the house.
What do you think of Karen? Or Karen? What do you think, Shadaloo?
I think she's grossly overexposed, but I didn't particularly mind her all that much.
I feel like it's a different character. I don't recognize this character, to be honest with you. It's so weird to make her the Professor X of the Street Fighter. I just think that is the strangest thing to me.
A problem that story mode has right now is, Jesus, it's trying to work with what it's got. And
Yeah, but
I believe that this is probably only the first of a couple story modes further on down the line, if they're going where I think they're going to go with this game.
the weird thing to me is if you're working with what you got, so if, like, the heroes were just, like, Ken and Ryu, then yeah, they need Kareen to give them money and a helicopter and intel of where the Shadaloo base is. But when Guile and Chun-Li and Cammy and Charlie are all there, helicopters should not be hard to come by.
Yeah. Now there are definitely questions as to who the hero is in this story mode that I'm going to want to get to at some point.
I guess
if it were me, you'll go on, yeah.
Well, the other thing I want to talk about, as far as, like, since we're still in, like, where the story starts, is there's no really, like, introduction at all to the status quo post Street Fighter IV. In fact, nothing that happened in Street Fighter IV seems to matter. It's like, it just jumps from 2 to 5. Like, SIN was apparently... Like, I still don't understand where Bison was and what he was doing while his weapons development division was being taken over by Seth.
I can answer that. He was in a helicopter, smiling and plotting.
Fair enough. Like, if 4 was just filler, that's cool, but I would have liked some kind of indication that that was the case.
Yeah. Filler's a word for it, sadly.
I do want to say, though, the whole, like, Marvel Studios teaser at the end of the game, I thought that was really well done. I thought that was super hype.
Yeah.
Like, the only part that didn't really work for me is when, what's her name before she turns into Colleen?
Helen?
Helen, yeah. Like, basically, for no reason, Helen turns into, like, a secretary from a Brazzers production. There's no explanation.
I think that was just to be
I thought it
artsy.
was hype.
Okay, here's the thing. None of that was necessary. Absolutely none of it.
I
We
thought
know
it was
what-
cool.
It wasn't necessary, but I appreciate it, because the thing, like, I like 5 as a prelude to 3. I just think it does a poor job being the thing after 2 and 4.
See, the thing is, a problem, I guess, with the game is that it does assume a certain amount of familiarity with prior Street Fighter lore, such as it is. Coming into this game, we knew that Charlie was Illuminati property, had been resurrected by the Illuminati in some way, shape, or form, because of that little jewel on his head.
You know what's weird? They never say the word Illuminati anymore. Like, even in the comics, they keep,
don't.
like, dancing around saying the name of the organization.
It's them or they or what. This story mode also has a problem with identifying things, like Rashid's friend, who is forever shall be known as Rashid's friend, the friend that Rashid had.
I'm still confused about that, too. Was that person who died in the beginning, was that the friend?
Yeah,
Yes.
the person that Fong melts at the beginning, like, turns to purple dust,
We gotta talk about
was
that later,
Rashid's
too.
friend. And I could see you could go the whole thing and miss that, and have no idea. Also, apparently Rashid's friend was a girl, and you could miss that all the way until the phone call.
Well, that's why I didn't think that was the friend, because I thought, like, wasn't that a male who got melted in the beginning?
Yeah, like,
But
and
apparently
he
no, it
never
wasn't.
refers to, like, him or her or any gendered terms. It's like they're being confusing on purpose.
which is that's the thing about Helen/Colleen. The whole Helen aspect was just unnecessary. Why wasn't it just Colleen from the start?
I guess they were just trying to put a veil in front of the audience, maybe? Which I half agree with, but go on.
I just didn't see why it was necessary. It just seemed pointless to me. What was the ice-shattering transformation thing about? Why was this necessary?
I guess if she had called herself Colleen at the beginning of the game, though, I would spend the next 3 hours saying, "Where's Gil? When's Gil? When's Gil? When's Gil?" So
that's the thing. You already could have, because we knew there was going to be Urian.
Yeah, you
put
a gem in the middle of Charlie's face, and you're going to go, "Where's Gil?" anyway.
Exactly. That's why I think the whole Helen thing was just unnecessary. We knew there was going to be Illuminati.
So, I was fairly surprised when I saw Gil. I'll be honest with you. I did not. I thought Urian was going to be sort of an island kind of placed in the center of the story mode, but
yeah, I was
surprised by Gil.
I thought they were going to hint at Gil, but never show him. So the fact that we actually got to see him, I enjoyed.
I got pretty much what I was expecting. I figured we'd see him. They've already got one buff naked guy in a thong. It's not that hard to give him hair and make him 2 different colors. It was always going to happen.
Yeah, there are things I do like about the story mode. I do think it does establish a number of arcs and follows them through to the end, even if the ending's not satisfying. The biggest example being Guile and Nash. When Nash spoilers, everyone, by the way. Yeah. But when...
Late for that, I think.
When Bison kills Nash and Guile has no reaction, that's a big problem.
Guile
really hurts. Yeah.
So Guile having no reaction is my biggest problem with the whole story mode, and I'll get to that.
I think in terms of like just character and how they are depicted, the biggest problem is that Guile and Nash never really, like, they're in the same room a couple different times, and yet there's never like, "Hey man, it's great to see you again," or like, I'm so glad you're back from the dead."
This is a character who has been vacillating between, is my best friend dead? I have to take revenge for his death.
Yeah, it's...
At the end of Alpha 3 is like, I know he has to be alive somewhere. We've never been sure about this. We finally have an opportunity to see how Guile feels. And here's how Guile feels. You left your dog tags behind.
Yeah. Like, imagine it's his whole character. Like, imagine if Scorpion's wife and son came back from the dead, and he just kind of stared at him. And that was the whole game.
Tag, son.
20 years of build-up to this moment, and absolutely nothing came of it. Fucking shit all. Doodly squad.
It would be funny if Scorpion and his wife were wrestling down Abel in the next scene. That would be kind of funny. Well, no, I liked Abel too. I thought Abel was well done, but go on.
Yeah. There's a scene where they have to escape Shang Tsung's palace, and like Scorpion's wife is running for the helicopter, and Scorpion puts his hand out to save her, and that's the only interaction they have.
But I mean, yeah, it's a problem, which is, man, that's such a weird missed opportunity, especially since they spent so much time on Laura. We couldn't get a scene where, Guile treats death like it's a big deal. I don't...
Well, there's an awful lot of Balrog, but there's even more of Vega. And, like, Vega is the guy who gives a shit the least about Shadaloo. So...
Vega probably has the best scene in the entirety of the story mode, and I'll come to that later on. Well, we're talking about missed opportunities. Something else I want to talk about is Chun-Li.
Okay.
Yes, agreed.
And the problems inherent in making Ryu the main character for this thing, which he should absolutely have not been for a couple of reasons.
I was keeping tally in my head the whole time you play. You only play as Chun-Li once, the whole game, and it's at the end.
That's the only character I knew how to play other than Mika, so that was kind of lame. But
for all that you were able to play as Chun-Li, you should have spent that time playing Ryu or something, and his moment should have come in the second story mode further on. Because, I'm telling you now, really, really pissed off about the way they handled the whole finding balance in his inner force with the Satsui no Hado thing, and even more pissed off that he apparently killed Bison. Very pissed off about this.
So there's a weird thing it does when Bison dies where it won't show his death on screen. And I'm like, why?
Well, I think the obvious thing is that they want us to think, well, there's no body, he might come back again someday, herkadur, because you can't have finality in this day and age. God, no, you gotta leave it open for more sequels.
I hate it. The other thing, talking about, like, shit that should be resolved that isn't, and going back to how often Vega shows up and how much you play as him. So every time he shows up, it's to fight Cammy. So it's like they're building this arc where Cammy keeps losing and will eventually at the end overcome him, and that's like because she's trying to defend DiCaprio and the dolls. And it's like, so that's going to be your thing. Like, that's her Sonya and Kano. And her moment is going to be finally defeating Vega at the end, and that'll be the resolution. Nope, he beats her every fucking time. What?
I don't have a good response for that.
Nope. The whole Vega Cammy relationship was a thing that was kind of sort of started in Alpha 3, and every now and then they like to come back to it because Vega and beautiful people and he's attracted to them and whatnot. And it was originally just sort of Chun-Li back in the day. He and Chun-Li had that relationship, but they just sort of shifted it over to Cammy, and they never really made good on it. It's just sort of a thing to connect him to someone else, but he's really got no connection to anyone, period. So I don't know how I feel about that.
I mean, Bison may be the most, but even that's sort of like an employee-employer relationship. Like there's nothing really deep there.
The connection that they have is that in Alpha 3, Vega saves Cammy's life, according to the storyline. Like, when the whole Shadaloo base is blowing up, he picks her up, and he takes her to, like, MI6, and he basically leaves her unconscious on a park bench and runs away. Because she's beautiful, and because she's beautiful, she should not die. Holding Mask dramatically, running off into the trees. That's their relationship.
Huh.
Fair enough.
So I guess that's that, but it would have been nice to have that kind of closure.
Yeah, it just seems weird to me that there are so many examples, and that's a major one of them, where they set something up and then they don't knock it down at the end.
I don't know. Just
well, some things did get knocked down, though. Like, there's actually a number of things this game does knock down, so I don't completely hate the story mode. I do like how they kind of wrapped up the Cammy DiCaprio thing. Even if they ran out of money to show it happen, at least it did get wrapped up. They did kind of conclude that.
I like that we're done with the dolls.
Yes.
If there's something I enjoyed, it was the presence of the dolls, seeing all the unique moves and shit that they had, which was really cool. And finally wrapping up that storyline.
And one of those dolls is T-Hawk's sister, cousin, wife, something. I don't. Relevant female.
Because there's one missing out of things. It's either Julie or Junie. One of them's missing.
Junie's missing, I believe. No, was it Julie? It's the one with the dark hair, and they have kind of a weird thing where
I think she shows up in Cammy's like the mini story modes where you play 2 or 3 fights and there's poorly drawn art.
No, wait. That's Junie.
Yeah.
It's Junie. She's the one with the auburn, golden blondish hair, and according to the internet, they might be dating. I don't know. But yeah, that's that.
So one of the two shows up in Cammy's thing, so it's like she's the only doll that's free before the story mode starts. And Julie, the other one, shows up in story mode as a doll. So apparently she was never freed, like whatever ending where T-Hawk saved her is not canon.
The thing about that is they sort of did a role switch. T-Hawk's cousin, girlfriend, sister, whatever it is, that's actually the one named Noembelu, I think her name is now. And she's the one with the hatchets. So yeah, they kind of shifted Julie's role onto her. And for whatever
weird.
Whatever Julie's been doing, no one said any fucking
Like, I just assumed there were 2 that were Native Americans. Like, I didn't know that they took somebody's story and retconned it onto somebody else and didn't tell anybody.
Kind of. It's pretty much what happened in, like, written sources between Alpha 3 and this game at some point. It's very, very convoluted. I forget who, but one of them was supposed to be from Germany? I don't know. Doesn't even matter. And they didn't really decide on this, I don't think, until very recently, because as of the Street Fighter 4 ending, it's still Julie that he winds up like going to check on T-Hawk's ending.
Yeah, like
It's gone back
in
and
the
forth a
ending.
few
Like
times.
she's saved, but once she's cut off from the doll programming, she's just kind of catatonic, and it's a sad ending. And it's like,
Yeah, that was it.
but I guess
I
that
remember
didn't
hearing
happen
about
because she's still a doll.
I remember hearing about the retcon before Street Fighter 4 even came along, and then they showed that, and I'm like, okay, I guess the retcon wasn't official, but now it is, and just really, really sloppy. You think that NetherRealm's got problems? Holy shit.
Yeah.
Anyway, I have
yeah.
problems with Ryu being the main character in the story mode. I really do.
Yeah, like it kind of comes out of
Is
nowhere.
he the
They
main
don't really.
character, though?
They forced him into the role.
Well,
This is the issue I have about Chun-Li being wasted opportunity. It's been a thing since Third Strike came out that Urien says to Chun-Li, "Oh, you're the one whose legs took down that organization." It's been basically assumed in the storyline and pretty much set in canon that Chun-Li took down Shadaloo and took down M. Bison. That's where her storyline's been going towards since at least Street Fighter 2 in the Alpha games, and she does not have that moment. Like Gal doesn't have his moment with Charlie, she doesn't have her moment with Bison. Because we have to get Ryu to the point in 3 where he's freed himself of that Satsui no Hado and evil Ryu shite. What we have to do is get Dhalsim to tell him, have you considered being evil some of the time and good some of the time? And then Ryu goes, I never thought of it that way. And then he's fine.
Well, it's
Holy
not really
shit.
It's not that so much as just like he kind of comes up with the power of nothingness just to get Nikali to stop chasing him.
Oh, talking about wasted opportunities. My gosh.
Nikali is the weirdest thing in story mode because he just
Nikali was just there.
Yeah, he's just there. He's like, so his story is that he's like an ancient force that shows up during times of crisis to eat the strongest warriors.
He's essentially Blaze, but hungrier.
But the only ones he seems to go after are actually the warriors with the strongest evil powers, Ryu and Bison. And they both push his shit in. Because if he's going after just strong warriors, he doesn't like... So he kind of attacks Dhalsim once at the beginning of the game, but then in the middle, the last time he goes after Ryu, and Ryu discovers the power of nothingness, like, Nikali can't, like, sense him anymore because of the nothingness thing, but Dhalsim's right there, and Ken's right there, who's almost as good as Ryu, and Chun-Li's right there, who's the strongest woman in the world, and he doesn't want to eat any of them, he just wants to leave. So what the fuck is Nikali's deal?
I really think that Nikali was planned for an earlier version of the script where he had a lot more to do, a lot more story prominence, because they teased the fuck out of him.
Yeah, I got the impression that he was going to be like the main boss at one point, like he's the new Akuma, but...
That's what I thought too. I think he still might be further down the line when there's an arcade mode and we have a couple of bosses to deal with. I think we're actually building up to that point. I do.
I would love them to save this shit and make Nikali's presence make sense, because as it stands right now, fucking what?
I'm kind of the opposite. I would just write him out of the game.
And you would honestly think, too, that, going back to the Ryu thing for a second, you would think that, like, Ryu's moment of clarity would come in the middle of a fight with Akuma or some shit. Not Bison.
That's the thing. Like, I saw they were trying to make it, like, a profound thing and show his character development, but it happens for no reason, really. Like, it's just there are scenes. Scenes happen. We see his progression, but we don't see, like, what it means to him. Like, it's so easy.
Shit was
in the script, I'm sure there was a lot more with the Satsui no Japanese words. I don't know how. Satsui no Hado?
The
killing intent.
The killing intent. That works.
There you go. The evil. When Ryu defeats his evil. I think there was a lot more scripted stuff around that. It just never made it to the surface. Same thing with, I think, another character I want to talk about a lot more later. Jury. I think there was a lot more scripted stuff because her motivations are completely non-existent. We're never told why Juri does anything in this game.
There's a little bit in her little, again, the mini story mode where you play like 2 fights and there's poorly drawn art. Where we see that Bison ripped the feng shui engine out of her eye, so now she's pissed at Bison and wants to get at him. And that's pretty much it. Yeah. And that's like why she wears the eye patch. Although it's funny that when she goes into V-Trigger that she's still, like, her eye socket, I guess, glows purple now.
The eye socket remembers.
Yeah, like,
I think she also wanted to kill Bison in 4 too, but I can't remember.
She did, yes.
Well, she's got some complicated shit where, like, I guess her family was killed by Shadaloo, but she also works for Shadaloo.
That was it. I never recall being disappointed by that too, because the funny thing is, where Fong is now, like the official replacement for Sagat in the hierarchy of the Shadaloo, the 4 kings, that's basically what I feared that they were bringing in Juri to fill that role for. But instead, nope. Let's just give her Guile and Chun-Li's story.
Yeah, it's
another person whose life Bison is ruined.
Well, I do think she is more interesting as a I don't want to call her a good character because, again, her motivations outside of that little vengeance plot is still kind of murky.
Yeah,
but I do like the way she. What's that?
She's still like this weird sadist who seems to mostly be interested in lesbian teasing.
Yes. But that's exactly why I like her better as part of the good side of things, because I think she's more interesting when you put her next to a Cammy or a Chun-Li, as I don't think she's more interesting next to a Bison who's just a generic dictator, or next to Seth, who is basically just a robot version of Liam Neeson.
Yeah.
So I don't think there's a benefit to that for her character.
You are attributing a lot more character to Seth than I would have. But
Seth,
there is
Seth. I once described Chameleon as the character you designed when you were 12 years old, or 8 years old actually. That's basically what Seth is for Street Fighter.
Yeah. I'm going to make a robot with a giant yin-yang for a stomach, and he can steal everybody's powers. And also, his name is Seth. Like, he's just some guy.
Well, I mean,
he's named after Seth Gillian, but there's a better way to do that.
Just name the yin-yang Seth. He uses Seth to kill people. That would have been cool.
Seth could be the name of a magic energy. I'm fine with that. Can we tap into the Seth?
I think honestly, all said and told, the people who did not disappoint me in this story mode, in terms of character and presence and development and whatnot, Balrog was a nice, pleasant surprise.
Oh yes, definitely. Balrog's like a better father than Ken.
Yeah,
like, he's fantastic.
Balrog had shit to do. It was really nice.
I like the kid with the telekinesis who hangs out with Balrog. Yeah.
Well, it's like Balrog actually has like non-angry interactions with someone else, and I thought that made him way more interesting. Balrog has like tripled in terms of like just character interest. I find him so much more fascinating.
He's got a new dimension to him. There's his fight money, and there's the kid.
It's just super weird to me because I just feel that ever since the Alpha days, the storyline in Street Fighter has just basically gone down the shitter, and that everyone's just become a successive series of bad anime tropes. But Balrog is the one guy that kind of flies in the face of that. They actually bothered to work on him.
I wanted to spend more time with him. I want to see him and that kid do things,
I did, yeah.
Like I said, I think Ken is kind of a shitty father figure. I think Balrog might be a little better at it. I mean, do they do fucked up things? Yeah, but they do it together, and that's what's important.
I don't know. I mean, we got to see Ken and his kid actually interact in this one, and it was kind of endearing.
Until he had to go to Brazil.
You're also supposed to basically assume that the reason that Balrog keeps the kid around is he profits by him.
Yeah, his fight money.
That is why Balrog does anything.
Perhaps,
he probably gets fight money from brushing his teeth in the morning.
The way he responds to, God, I can't remember his name anymore, but the kid's actions, and the way the kid responds to Balrog's actions, it is a very, even if shortly displayed, it looks like a very organic relationship. I would like to see more of that, honestly.
I hope we
And that
do.
doesn't just happen from being greedy. That you have to work on that.
Truth. I think in 4 he found him as a very, very young child, and like they
Yeah,
aged
like
him
the kid
artificially by.
ages fast. He's a science experiment,
Yeah.
so he's got, fucking psychodrive powers.
Out of all things to actually take up from Street Fighter 4, Balrog's ending, that amuses me to no end. That's cool.
Well, thank heavens, because that ending was confusing as hell back when I saw it. I'm
Balrog
like,
found a child and went off with him. What?
I'm gonna make money off you.
It was better than Vega jumping into a helicopter and moving away. I have never felt so unfulfilled about from completing anything. Holy shit!
Speaking of jumping into and out of helicopters, can we talk about how the entire good guy team has the power to not use a parachute and not die?
Yeah, they went full Avengers at the end of the story mode, like no holding back, none.
Was anyone else like picturing the Final Fantasy VII Highwind theme while that was happening?
A little bit.
Dun dun dun. Anyway.
Good times.
Na, 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 na. Good times.
No, I mean, my God, this series let me down. Did that story let me down? And going back to what I was saying when I was going to come back to Vega, how I think he got the best scene in the whole game. You know, at the very end, when the entire Shadaloo base is exploding because of reasons, like everything is on fire for no specific reason. Everything everywhere has shut down. There is lava. Why is there lava?
It's a volcano all of a sudden.
It's just
Bison was a load-bearing boss.
burning down. Whole load-bearing. Oh, gee. What the shit was that? And Vega just has this moment where he's just up on the rafters and he's watching the whole thing burn. And he just takes off his mask and he throws it down. And he's like, I'm done. And he walks away. I have never felt more empathy with my favorite character than in that very moment.
It's like looking into a mirror.
Holy shit, son. You just said more with no words than needed to be said. Thank you.
No,
Thank
I
you,
relate.
developers, for doing that. That was beautiful.
So remember before that, when Chun-Li was running from the fire, and Ryu shot a Hadouken at her face, and didn't tell her, oh, don't worry, it'll go right through you and put out the fire. Like,
Ryu's kind of an ass.
Point of that!
I don't know.
This is the power of
if we're going by best
nothingness.
scenes-
Now I can shoot at people and not hurt them.
I mean, that would be cool to. Oh, I don't know how they incorporate it, but
Yeah,
I think
when
to
do we
be
get
able to
that move in
manipulate-
the game? The Hadouken that doesn't hurt.
Well, no, if you reduce the startup and use it as like a feint, that could be kind of sick, actually. But I don't know. If we're going by best scenes in the story mode, I just really like Charlie's arc of being like an asshole who only wants revenge to realizing his own limits and actually working with the rest of the team like that. I like that beginning and ending of the character's run, even though I hate the Guile part of it. I did like Nash a lot in this game. And
Yeah, he
I
was cool.
love his transformation over the story. I thought that was really well done.
Yeah, there's a really endearing thing, although a little bit disappointing of the whole, like, I exist to kill Bison. Oh, he's stronger than me, I'll never beat him.
I think there's something refreshing about that. I mean, what was the last action movie you saw where the main character was like, you know what, I don't got this after all. I'm going to need a lot of help. You just don't see that very often, you know?
Yeah. I mean, it would have been nice if they had figured out some way to have, like, Bison's defeat be a team effort instead of just, oh, Charlie's done, you're up, Ryu.
Well, what I would have preferred is for Charlie and Guile to fucking fight jobbers up to the end of the story mode, and then when his fucking, Corpse of 11 powers finally fade away, Guile has to watch him die for real. That would have been my choice way to end Nash's storyline, but we didn't get that. I didn't need to see him fight Bison.
You know what?
I was done with that.
It wouldn't. Here's the thing. Here's what I would do different. I would keep it the way it is to where he kills himself to drain Bison. But then after Charlie's dead and Ryu steps up to the fight, I would have Bison actually look weakened. Like he no-sells it.
Yeah,
I
no,
would've
I
just-
agree. That would be tight.
That's the problem, is that he fucking
would've-
reacts as though, oh, that was nothing. I'm still at full power.
Look at me, final form, etc.
Yeah.
I would have
Like,
I would've
Bison's
just-
final form should be kind of roughed up.
just not had Ryu there at all, and I would have had Guile go at it with Chun-Li. Have them both take him down, and have Chun-Li, do the final shot.
Yeah.
Have Guile go, I'm not going to be what you are. Reinforcing his SF2 ending, and have Chun-Li finally take him down with kicks.
Well, if you go by actual, like, SF2 canon, the World Warrior tournament ended with Ryu making it to the Bison round, but then Akuma jumps in and kills Bison.
Yes.
Blocks them in the victory.
That's canon. Like,
A series of disappointments. That's Street Fighter. I don't know. A part of me just thinks this game might have been better without a story mode. It's
I liked it.
It's sort of becoming my philosophy that I don't actually think Street Fighter has done a really excellent job in terms of story since Alpha 2. The more they try to tell a coherent story with these characters in this setting, we get stuff like Gil and the Illuminati, which is questionable, not horrible, stealing Dudley's car to get him to compete in the tournament, Dudley deciding to go after his car for reasons, and
the comics are
giant.
better. The comics are doing all of that much better, and
They are. Giant Buddha statues firing lasers into orbital satellites, which come down and empower Bison. The more Street Fighter tries to tell a story, the more it falls on its face. And there was a beautiful, elegant simplicity in the way Alpha 2 did it, which was not too different from the way Street Fighter 2 did it. A couple of lines of dialogue back and forth. This is an Alpha 3 too. Mid-boss, if you were good enough, seeing some extra dialogue between you and your rival. Getting up to the guy before your end boss, which was not always Bison. Alpha 2 didn't have a set end boss, actually. Alpha 2 had your rival as your last boss.
yeah, I always liked that.
That was cool. I mean, and it told a coherent enough storyline. It set things up very well. To this day, I still think that Alpha 2 is probably the best overall Street Fighter game. I'm probably alone in this. But man.
I'm going to go Third Strike, honestly. I mean, it took me years to come to that conclusion. I originally did not like Third Strike at all. I thought the game was a broken mess. I didn't really like the roster. I guess I grew up. I guess I just kind of saw the light eventually.
It's the best competitive game. I would never actually think to doubt that, but
I think Third Strike had to fight an uphill battle because so much of the roster is new. That it's now we're looking back on it years and years after it came out, and it's we're used to those guys finally.
Yeah, I just wish I knew what I knew then what I know now. Wait.
God,
What I know. Something, yes.
Know now what no, knew then what you know now. That's
You were right.
Rural.
It's good. You're good.
But yeah, I mean, just I never even gave the game a chance. I couldn't find one character I thought looked cool. I don't know. Now I think almost all the characters are cool. I can't think of a single exception. Even Dudley, who I didn't really like back then, has grown on me quite a bit now. Yeah.
Remy bugs me. He feels like try hard. He's supposed to be cool, and that makes him uncool to me.
He's basically Iori Yagami with blue hair.
What bugs me about him is the fact that his name is Remy makes me think of Gambit. So I feel like they were trying to and then you've got Elena who looks like Storm with short hair. And it's stop ripping off the fucking X-Men.
I guess
it's not working.
I guess all the Marvel vs. games rubbed off, maybe. I don't know. The thing that bugs me about Remy, as I'm sure bugs everyone, well, how well do you guys know his story?
Not at all. Not even.
Yeah, not really.
He is angry because his father ran away to become a fighting man. And his ending is this really obscure, oblique piece of shit where he takes off his shirt and he jumps into the middle of the Atlantic or whatever, and he swims down into an underwater cavern, and there in this cavern is his sister encased in ice, and he says his final goodbyes and talks about how he can't forgive his father just yet, and then he fucks off, and that's Remy's story.
Huh.
So you can
What
take that
the-
as yeah. So an angry guy with a fighting dad who knows how to throw sonic booms, yeah. It's the kind of thing where they just kind of develop the character around a mystery, and I feel like they were gonna eventually say that his dad was Charlie, maybe. So
Okay,
that's
but
kind of the reason. That's
what's
kind
with
of the
the
reason I
ice
would
sister?
like to see him back. I have no idea what the fuck is up with the ice sister. It's just kind of there. This is also the same game where Akuma like uppercuts a fucking submarine underwater because he can.
Well, that's Akuma,
Street
though.
Fighter
I
3
believe
had
that.
a lot of weird shit going on.
Well, that's going to be the game to play if they make it backwards compatible on Xbox or even PS4. Like, I talked to Redman, and that's the game we're going to start grinding out if we can access it on next-gen consoles. I can't reasonably play anything on my 360 anymore. I don't have a working stick for that console anymore, so... Like, I would have learned that game if the opportunity presents itself. It's just a matter if they ever give me the opportunity, you know? Same thing with Vampire Savior. I'm going to start learning that game with Praetor. I should remember his tag name.
Good stuff.
Yeah, once they make it backwards compatible.
You've just reminded me that Darkstalkers is dead, and I'm sad again.
Yeah, well, it doesn't have to be. When I went to Corpus, I asked Praetor, I was like, hey, you're going to Evo soon. Do you want to play some fighting games? He's like, Vampire Savior? And I'm like, that's random, but okay. And we played for like 3 hours. We had a blast. And when he went to Evo, I don't even know how he did in Street Fighter V. All I know is he did very well in a Vampire Savior side tournament. So hopefully we can make that a long-term thing along with Third Strike, along with Street Fighter V, along with Mortal Kombat, along with Killer Instinct, along with KOF, along with Guilty Gear.
None of this is ever happening.
I would love to get into KOF at some point. That's sort of the next one on my list.
We'll wait for it to go down in price in like 3 hours, so. I'm just saying, man. I'm just saying.
True enough.
All right. But, so before we wrap up the whole story thing, I just want to, I have one more complaint, which is Fong's death is another one of those things where they set it up and then they didn't knock it down right. Like, the whole part where the doll with the laptop knocks him over the railing, and is trying to, the two of them fall into, a red-hot turbine. And then he just walks back into scene later, and he's fucking fine. And it's like, man, that chick sacrificed herself to kill this guy, and it was a really great moment, and he's just, why is he back? Why?
Yeah, and also, I was already sick of Fang. I was ready for him to leave the story mode permanently.
I will say he's the funniest moment in story mode is when they're in Brazil, saving Sean from him, and to run away from Ken, he has this nah, and throws gas at the ground and whoop 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 whoop, whoop away.
I remember you telling me about that. That was really funny.
I fucking love that. It is the best.
I want you guys to remember, this is who they got to replace Sagat, people. It's at this point that I just kind of feel like, along with the history of Sagat's role in the Street Fighter 2 animated movie being, no, sit down and also fuck you.
You know what?
I don't think that they actually need to have 4 people up in there. You know, you see Bison sending Balrog out to do a hit on Fei Long in Alpha 3. Vega gets assigned to take down Rose or fuck with Cammy's shit or mess with Chun-Li.
Yeah,
Sagat's job is to sit down and fuck off. And
where is Rose while Bison is dying?
You know, what does Fong even do?
He's a scientist?
Yes, that's what he does.
And
I guess that's exactly what Bison told him now, isn't it? You go do your science.
Go do science.
I'm going to continue doing the thing I was doing with clone bodies or some shit.
But,
the series where you clone a 16-year-old British girl with pigtails from a dubiously Cambodian dictator of 40 plus 200 or something.
Look, that's who he wants to be, man. Don't body shame Bison for...
I'm just saying, man. The moral of the story is I've learned from the deep appreciation of Street Fighter story that I once had. I was stupid to ever expect anything.
I love saying Tiger, but Sagat left Shadaloo of his own free will because he didn't want to do crimes anymore.
I really like that. I love Sagat's Street Fighter 4 story. I think it's amazing, frankly.
No, Sagat was good.
And
just-
from a gameplay perspective, I want him back, quite frankly.
Yeah,
I kind of-
I'd love to see like good guy Sagat. Like he has like I loved his arc in the comic after he left Shadaloo, where he's trying to find peace by training with Dalsim, and then he goes back to like he faces what's the guy, the other Muay Thai guy.
Go Hibiki.
Oh, Adon.
Yeah,
Oh,
Adon.
Adon,
He like
Adon.
faces Adon over like who's best at Muay Thai, and it was good shit.
Yeah, the Udon comics are actually the only time where we've actually seen Sagat for a reasonable amount of time as a Shadaloo agent for a couple of issues there. Because I shit you not, like
a very
every-
recent issue had him like Dan confronts him about killing his dad, and like Dan can't do shit to him, but also Sagat doesn't want to fight because he's not that guy anymore. It was well done.
I believe that they actually the way the storyline had it originally for a number of years was that Sagat threw the match to make him happy.
Yeah, basically.
So yeah,
It's a
Udon's
great
really not
story,
out of
frankly.
it is.
I did want to ask before we wrap this up. Is there any one or let's say two characters? I can't pick just one. Two characters we want to see each of us for the next season or the next DLC run.
Yes, there are.
Okay. Before we even do this, should we just take Q out and assume that we all want
Yeah,
Q?
I was gonna say
Yeah,
let's disqualify Q
okay,
or
yeah.
he'll be on every list.
Yeah,
I
he's
feel
the
like-
Fujin of this game.
You know what? I honestly feel that Q should be part of like the last set of DLC. They should save him for very last because he's gonna he will motorboat this game along for years on his presence alone. He's gonna take this game and like fuck its mouth like a tugboat. If Q is in this game, it's staying alive for 15 years.
Well, nothing in his story contradicted any of the things you said, so yes, that could all be the case. There's nothing-
Lol Q's story. Oh god. A part of me just wants like to have him show up, and then like no bio, no ending, nothing. He's just there. The same way he was there in 3, being the coffee percolator that walks like a man. What more do you need?
He will move around mysteriously in new alleyways. It'll be great.
It's just he sounds,
Okay.
he sounds like he's making Taster's Choice under there. It's hilarious.
We'll let you go first, Shadaloo. Who do you want? Two characters for the next run.
I want Necro. Bring me back some Necro. I like Necro.
Nice. Say more.
They
Why do you
just-
like Necro?
Did you see the data mining, by the way? After the latest
Yes, I did.
fucking Effie's in there. Now, that could just mean she's part of a background, but I like to cross my fingers and hope for the unrealistic.
I think he's fairly possible. I think he's a definite candidate.
But I like him because he's a less irritating version of Blanca and, you know, to some extent, Dalsim put together with his own spin, his own unique way of play. It's a lot of fun to play as Necro. You can be very varied with him. You can play a relatively mid-range game. You can be a jerk and spam like long fists from afar. You can keep people out. He's got a lot of options that I kind of wish Dalsim had, but if he had them, he wouldn't really be Dalsim anymore now, would he? So yeah, I always had a lot of fun with Necro. And it's just really fun to say, sorry I'm late in that voice. Sorry I'm late!
It's
Anyway.
very metal. It's super metal.
And you know what? Failing that, if they want to bring Effie in as a character, cool, I'm alright with that. She's apparently ridiculously strong, according to the comics.
What, like make her playable?
Yeah. Like, one issue not too long ago actually had her throw... I think it was Hakan? She threw someone like they were nothing, like a rag doll. It was like 2 issues ago or something. Like a big beefy guy. Might have been Hakan, I'm forgetting. Yeah, but Effie's not just like a small wafy cheerleader. She's like amplified and like part of the same program that Necro was part of. So there's no reason for her not to be playable.
Fair enough.
So yeah, Necro's 1. I shouldn't. I really shouldn't say this. It's bad, but I want Sagat back.
I don't blame you. I want a zoner. We have no zoner right now.
We really don't. I think he'd add a lot to the game.
Yeah.
And I would feel worse saying Blanca, but you know what? Fuck Blanca. We don't need Blanca back.
That's
I
a lot of pain in that matchup.
I don't actually think that we need Blanca back I actually think that we don't need Blanca back for different reasons than most of the people do. A lot of people hate him because of ball spammy shit. I feel that Blanca is one of those characters that just lost any appeal he had after Street Fighter 2. Because he stopped being a ferocious, savage, freaky beast like he was in the animated movie. That was the last time he was, like, remotely fearsome. And now he's like a green gorilla guy that, like, chomps bananas and hangs out with Dan.
Yeah, he did
I have
become
not
like
seen
a
such
friendly
a
cartoon
shit
character.
job on a character. Oh, God, it's terrible. It's awful. I don't want to see Blanca back if that's the way they're going to take him. Just bring Blanca back or bring Dan back. Let's just leave the stupid watermelon smashing anime tropes at home. It's fucking tired and played out. Make Blanca great again, or don't make him at all.
What they should do if they're going to have Blanca at all is have Dan be the character and Blanca's a striker, like Mika's tag team partner.
Yeah, there you go. I'm happy with that. Do we need Dan back?
We don't need him back, but he's kind of fun.
I think I could go a game without him.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
There's a few characters I can go again without. Like, I don't need Dan back. I don't need Akuma back. Maybe for the next one.
Akuma's going to happen, man. It's going to happen.
I'm sure.
I'm happy we got this much time without him. I'm happy we were able to have this nice little vacation. Because he's been a bad character design since day one, in my opinion. He's never been a good character design. He's a complete character with no flaws, except for his life.
Well, yeah, that's the thing about him, is he's broken on purpose, and it's like, what do you do with that?
Well, you give him a very low stamina rating, but the problem is, if you get in a vortex, that stamina rating doesn't really mean a whole lot, you know? He was fucking Summoner Quan Chi before Summoner Quan Chi. I don't like that character. He was also fucking Cabal before Cabal. Like, he had everything. There's nothing that character didn't fucking have.
He's all of the assholes.
That's why he was God tier in Super Turbos, because he didn't have to play the game. He could just hair fireball, and you would never get close to him. You could not get in on the character. Who's next?
I guess I am.
Do it.
All right. Well, I was going to say Captain Sawada, but...
No, you weren't.
No, I'm kidding.
I don't know who that is. I don't know if
he was. He was the guy
Captain
in the
Sawada.
Movie game instead of Fei Long.
Yeah. For whatever reason, they didn't bring Fei Long into the movie. This goes back to the movie. I remember reading something about this. There's a couple of interesting interviews out there. They wanted Fei Long, but I don't know. Someone owed someone a favor, or there was a joke, or what. I don't know. So they replaced Fei Long, who was going to be in like Guile's unit, with this guy called Captain Sawada. And they took things further, and they brought him in for, like, I think it was the home version. Was it the arcade version? I'm forgetting.
Might have been.
Anyway, Sawada's power was to, like, commit harakiri all over you and bleed. Seriously.
Wow.
He would,
That's morbid.
he would, like, do this, like, a little slash, and, like, there'd be a little blood spurt in the air, and he had the stupidest charging forward move, period, because he'd just raise his arms and move forward. And it would, like, hit you 5 times. He'd armpit you to death. It was such a shit job. Oh, God, you have no idea. Look this up. It's amazing.
So here's the way I remember hearing the story, is that the guys making the movie decided not to have Fei Long in it because they thought he was the most boring. So they came up with... But they had this like famous Japanese actor who they wanted to put in the movie.
Yes.
So they made up the Captain Sawada role for him, and he's more boring than Fei Long.
Rachel's got it. That's about it.
But to actually answer the question of 2 characters who I'd like to see as DLC, I'm gonna say Sean, because he's already kind of in there. And because I really want to do 2-fisted dragon punches. That's a thing for me. And I guess my other pick, I'm going to say Sakura, for reasons we already discussed.
Okay, I would like an
Which, I
older
mean,
rendition of Sakura.
I
For
realize
sure.
my picks are two kind of Shotos, so that's a little boring, but there you go.
No, I mean the thing about Sakura is I don't really care for this girl archetype. So
Well,
like an
that's
older,
what's
stronger
interesting to
Sakura would
me
be
is
cool.
she's too old to be the schoolgirl anymore. I want to see gym teacher Sakura.
That's pretty much where everyone is actually expecting this to go, because that's something that actually happened in the mangas. Street Fighter 3, I think, was called Ryu Final, which is where I think he got that giant hole in his chest that they give him now whenever he becomes evil.
Yeah.
Like, they established that Sakura, after graduating, like, went straight into physical education and became, like, a really awesome gym teacher. So, we're kind of waiting on that.
I'd like to see that. I think that would be tight. Okay, I guess it's my turn. I am going to say Yang, since really he truthfully is my favorite Street Fighter character. I guess it defaults to Rose since that she was my main, and that playstyle. I do like the lore behind Rose. I like victim characters traditionally, going back to characters like Lee Man Smoke. I really like that stuff.
I was on the fence, Sean or Rose, I might have said. So yeah, I like Rose a lot.
I love Rose, and it's hard to put my finger on why. Do you
Rose
want
is
to take?
cool.
Do you guys want to take a second on why Rose is cool? Because it's something that's always hard for me to articulate. But
Rose is
yeah.
cool because she's a direct ripoff of a character from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure.
Interesting.
Like many of the best Street Fighter characters, including Guile.
But I just like she's got that whole like the tarot card reader thing, and like she fights with a fucking scarf. It's all very interesting. She's a very mystical, magical lady. She's like the Street Fighter universe version of Zatanna.
There's something very classy about her, and I was super pissed that she was not in Doctor Strange's ending when they had all the mystical Capcom characters. I'm like, where the fuck is Rose? Yeah, I tend to like classier characters. I tend to dislike gross, ugly characters. I'm not a big Baraka fan, but I love Sub-Zero. I'm not a big Ferritor fan, but I love Raiden. Like, just shit like that. And Street Fighter is no different. I like classy, very formalized characters. And, I mean, the idea of using a clairvoyant is a reference to one of my favorite Maiden songs, so, yeah, I just think Rose is tight. However, she is not my second pick. My second pick is actually Skullomania.
Nice.
Just because we need some representation. I feel like I don't like ignoring any era. Like, when I'm making a compilation album, one of my favorite bands, every era needs to get represented, no matter how many good or bad songs came from it. You gotta represent as many albums as you can, and I don't want to let go of that piece of history. That's a very unique piece of Street Fighter history,
Yeah, I can appreciate that. I mean, I'm the guy who, if I was making a Metallica mixtape, would not have anything from Saint Anger on it, but...
Well, me neither. And I mean, even though I want to represent every era, I mean, shit, dude.
I mean, one of us had to say Skullomania. It's okay.
Well, it was hard. I wanted to pick Oro, but...
Oh,
that was fucking
Oro.
gross
I
as shit.
should have put Oro on my list. Damn.
I think Oro's going to happen. See, if I'd known we were actually going to go all the way through to the EX series, I would find it fucking impossible to not have Doctor and Dark up on my list, because I really love that guy. He's a giant scorpion knot, right?
I didn't know that, but I can see it now.
Like, look at the back of his vest has a red scorpion on it, and he has a move where he hits you with a wire, and if you press back and first punch, he pulls them toward you. Nice.
I didn't know that. That's tight.
Yep. Only time, as far as I'm aware, SF's actually acknowledged MK in one of its games. Anyhow.
Well, I mean, the reason I can't pick Oro because he's ugly as shit. I hate looking at him so much, but I feel like he's very important lore-wise, and he's a very important part of the Third Strike aesthetic. But Skullomania, I feel like he's a blank slate. I feel like they can make him whatever the game needs in terms of a fighting style. God, Oro. He is what he is. I feel like that cake is baked. And God, he's fucking ugly. So,
he is. It's great.
Yeah,
well,
it's
he's
hard,
like 1,000 years old, so he's supposed to be.
And now with the magic of dynamic camera angles, if he lands on someone, we can see it in slow motion up close. It's gonna be amazing.
But he's like a trucker hat or something for that head, dude, because he is rough.
He does have the wispy bits of, like, Gollum hair.
Yeah. I don't like Gollum either. Well, I like Gollum on a literary level, but God, I hate looking at him. Yeah, that's all I got, guys. I think that covers the episode. Any
Jolly.
last thoughts?
I do just want to
Despite-
reiterate, I mean, in spite of all the complaints that we've had about story mode, I cannot stress enough how much I love that it doesn't have fucking chapters. That it just jumps from character to character at will, and lets you play as the bad guys, and let the bad guys win sometimes. That's what fucking Mortal Kombat needs to do.
Okay.
This is not a bad game. It's a disappointing game that will be very good in a couple of years, I'm sure. If you don't have it, hold on to your money. Save that $60. Buy Killer Instinct like I just did. And come back to this game in 2 years when it's ready. It's still in the oven.
Yeah, and
I like
even
your,
though it is... Yeah?
I like the practice of buying KI before you get the Xbox. That's a good plan.
I've always told... I've told you, and I've told this before, as soon as Killer Instinct is done, I'm getting it. And I did. And I've been saying for years, I will buy a new console for Killer Instinct.
All right, well...
I am doing this thing.
You're halfway to completing the plan.
You're getting there.
Probably after Christmas. It'll happen.
Well, there's no hurry, but we look forward to it, man. We still play that game a lot. And I guess that wraps up my final thoughts. My final thought on Street Fighter V is, despite all the problems, I love playing this game. I've easily got my money back. I put at least 15 hours in this game, at least. Probably more than that. And I want to put 15 more hours in, at least. So hopefully you guys will join me and Redman and Smokeman and Aramond. And shout-outs to all those guys, by the way. Thank you for playing. I really do appreciate it. And hopefully we can get more sets in. And then grow from there, you know? Get more people in. Maybe Cyborg and Django, possibly. I really enjoy this game. I really enjoy Chun-Li. And most of all, I really enjoy Ibuki. Yeah. Thank you, audience, for listening. We really appreciate it. We hope you enjoyed this. And hopefully we'll be playing Street Fighter on a live stream one day. But till then, take care.
Peace out.
Now Shadaloo's the guy who doesn't say anything.
That's fine.
Throwing the mask down and walking away.
Good times.
Good times.